At my sister's birthday dinner, she clinked her glass and said, "To the family ATM, may she one day find a life." Everyone laughed. I nodded, took a sip, and said, "To the birthday girl who just lost her lease, her car payment, and next month's tuition." Then I set my fork down, stood up, and walked out. They didn't laugh after that, but they did call 42 times, humiliating me in front of the entire family, even though I was the one keeping my sister Amanda afloat, and by extension, solving my parents' problems too. Wasn't just slow cruelty, it was deliberate. And they all laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all year. We were at some upscale Italian place Amanda had picked, the kind of restaurant where even the water had a price tag. It was her birthday dinner. 11 of us sitting around the table, dressed up and pretending to enjoy small talk. Amanda stood with a glass of Prosecco and tapped it like she was about to give a wedding speech. "To the family ATM," she said, looking right at me. "May she one day find a life." And they laughed, all of them. My mom, my dad, our cousins, even my aunt, who I hadn't seen in 6 years. Some gave me that fake sympathetic look while still giggling. My cousin Kyle actually said, "Damn, that's cold," while grinning. I sat there and nodded like it was fine. Took a sip of my wine, then I raised my glass. "To the birthday girl," I said, "who just lost her lease, her car payment, and next month's tuition." The laughter stopped instantly. You could hear someone set down a fork. I stood up, pushed in my chair, and walked out without another word. My phone blew up within the hour. 42 missed calls, 10 from my mom, 8 from my dad, a dozen from Amanda. The rest were scattered between other relatives, probably trying to get ahead of the drama. But the real fireworks started around 8:30 p.m., 2 hours after I left, because that's when Amanda got the notifications. The lease guarantor, me, pulled out. Her college payment was reversed. The automatic payment on her car loan failed. The pieces started falling fast, and this time there was no one to cushion the fall. She started texting. Rapid fire. First it was, "What's going on?" Then, "This isn't funny," followed by, "Call me now." And finally, just, "Please." I ignored all of it. At 11:03 p.m., just as I was getting into bed, I saw headlights in my driveway. It was my parents, and they weren't there to yell. They were on their knees the moment I opened the door. My mom was begging. My dad didn't say much, just nodded along with whatever she said. Amanda couldn't lose the apartment. She needed the car. School was important. They didn't understand how I could do this to her. Didn't I care? I let them in, and I told them exactly why I did it. Because I'd been helping Amanda for 4 years. Rent, tuition, food, insurance, car repairs, even paying off credit cards she forgot she opened. And every time my parents told me how grateful they were, not to me, but to her, for being so independent, they acted like she was making it all work on her own. When in reality, it was my bank account she was living out of. And now they made a toast to mock me, to make me a punchline. I told them I was done, that they'd never once asked how I was doing, that maybe they liked the version of me who paid for everything and shut up, but I was finished being that woman. They didn't get it. My mom said Amanda was still figuring things out. My dad said I was overreacting. Neither of them apologized. They stayed until nearly 1 a.m., hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. And when they finally left, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. By the next morning, I'd muted every group chat. My phone was vibrating like it had developed a nervous disorder. I didn't even bother checking anymore. I already knew the pattern. First, the text would be angry, then panicked, then emotional blackmail, then silence. All part of the cycle that always ended with me giving in. Only this time, it wasn't going to end that way. Amanda didn't call me right away. She thought she still had time. Thought I'd cool off, maybe feel guilty. Thought I'd reach out first like I always did. But 2 hours after I left that dinner, she must have checked her emails. That's when it hit her. The lease termination email went out at 8:12 p.m. The automatic car payment bounced right after. I made sure the notifications came to her too. This time, not just me. The university's online portal showed her payment had been reversed. The red warning banners were unmissable. At 9:07 a.m. the next morning, she posted a black screen on Instagram with white text. "Betrayal always comes from the ones closest to you." Then another one about 20 minutes later. "Imagine destroying your own family because you can't take a joke." By late morning, I started getting screenshots from my cousin Erica. Amanda had messaged her. Do you think Emma's serious? Because everything just shut down. My lease is gone. My tuition, too. She's ruining my life. Erica just replied with, You might want to talk to her yourself, and left it at that. Amanda stayed quiet most of the day. That was her tactic. She thought silence would make me uncomfortable, that I'd start worrying or regretting it. Maybe I'd reach out. She didn't realize I'd reached a limit I didn't know I had. By 7:30 p.m., the silence cracked. She called once. I let it ring. Then again. Then 5 more times in a row. Then came the texts. You can't do this. Please call me. Please, Emma. The apartment's gone. My car is about to get towed. I'm not playing around. You're seriously ruining everything. Then she shifted into the emotional card. I was joking. You know I was joking. It wasn't that deep. It was one line at dinner. You're going to destroy my life over that? Then came the guilt. Mom and Dad can't help. They thought you were taking care of it. You always have. How could you just leave me like this? Still, I said nothing. Around 9:45 p.m., my mom started calling. Then my dad, then my mom again. A voicemail followed. I didn't even listen to it. At 11:01 p.m., the headlights returned. I was already expecting them. I opened the door before they knocked. My mom's face was wet with tears. My dad didn't look like he'd slept. They came in fast. My mom barely got through the door before she started talking. No hello, no small talk, just pleading. Amanda couldn't lose everything. She was already talking about dropping out. She had nowhere to go, no money. She didn't know how to survive on her own. They had nothing left to give her. Then came the guilt again. They said they'd work extra jobs if that's what it took. They just didn't understand how I could cut her off like this. She was young. People make mistakes. Didn't I care? That's when I lost it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just sat them down and made them listen. I told them what it was like working 2 jobs while Amanda posted pictures from road trips she didn't pay for. What it felt like to get texts from her asking for money with smiley faces attached, like she was ordering takeout. How many times I'd pushed back things I needed just to make sure she didn't fall behind. And how they never once asked if I could handle it, never once asked if I was okay. They made her toast me like a clown, and now they were asking for kindness. They sat there listening, or pretending to. When I finished, my mom just said, She's your sister. And my dad added, You know she didn't mean it. You're making this bigger than it is. I stood up and opened the door. Neither of them argued. But the looks they gave me when they left, like I had betrayed them, stayed in my mind long after they were gone. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was unsure, because I finally realized something. They never saw me as their daughter, just their backup plan. For a week there was silence. No calls, no messages, nothing from Amanda, not even a passive-aggressive post pretending she was thriving. The group chat stayed quiet. Even my parents vanished. It was like I'd stopped existing. Then, out of nowhere, my mom left me a voicemail on Friday. I didn't listen to it. A few minutes later, she sent a text. Hey, sweetie, we're having a little family gathering tonight. Just close ones. It's about you. Please come if you can, after work. It's important. No guilt trip, no drama, no desperate begging, which is how I knew something was up. I was tempted to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. And if I'm being honest, a small part of me wanted to believe maybe they had finally gotten it. Maybe they understood now. Maybe this was their way of fixing things. I pulled into the driveway around 6:30. Their porch light was already on. The house looked exactly the same, except there were balloons tied to the mailbox. Inside, I could hear music and laughter. It sounded normal. Too normal. When I walked in, I was met with a weird kind of cheerfulness. There was a banner across the living room wall that said, World's Best Daughter. There were snacks, drinks, even a cheap cake from the grocery store. Amanda was there. So were my parents, and about half the people from the birthday dinner. Cousins, aunt, uncle, people who hadn't said a single word to me since everything blew up. They acted like nothing had happened, like I hadn't cut Amanda off, like she hadn't humiliated me, like my parents hadn't tried to guilt me into submission at midnight on my front porch. My mom gave me a hug. My dad said it was good to see me. Amanda smiled, like she hadn't been blowing up my phone 2 weeks ago, begging me not to ruin her life. For a second, I felt like I'd walked into an alternate universe. They handed me a small silver box and said they wanted to show appreciation for everything I'd done, for all the years of support, for being the one who held the family together. Inside was a t-shirt that read, Reliable, resourceful, real. Corny, sure, but it made me smirk. There was also a framed family photo from 5 years ago, before Amanda started spiraling and I turned into a walking ATM. It was the kind of gesture that felt personal, thoughtful, almost like they meant it. People asked me about work. They listened, actually listened. Nobody interrupted, nobody turned the conversation toward Amanda. It was like the spotlight had shifted, and for once, it was actually on me. For an hour, it felt decent. Then I asked a simple question. So what's the plan now? Amanda's rent's due soon, right? She still only makes $800 a month. That won't cover $1,100. The room got quiet in that way where you can hear the ice in someone's drink. Amanda didn't say anything. She looked at my dad. My mom gave a little shrug like she was preparing to deliver bad news as softly as possible. Well, we haven't figured that part out yet, she said. We were hoping maybe after tonight you might reconsider helping, just until Amanda finds something better. My dad added, We just thought after everything, you'd realize how much we appreciate you. You've always been the dependable one. We thought we could count on you. Then my mom looked right at me. We're not saying we expect it, but if you won't help, your father and I will probably need to take on second jobs. We thought you were family. We didn't expect you to turn your back on us like this. It was all there, the guilt, the pressure, the emotional manipulation, wrapped in a party and topped with a smile. They hadn't changed. They just dressed the guilt in balloons and cake. I didn't make a scene. I didn't argue. I just stood up and said, "Come see me when you actually need the money." And I left. I didn't look back. I didn't take the t-shirt. I didn't even take the photo. 2 weeks later, they showed up at my place again. But this time they weren't asking. They were ready to beg. It was a quiet knock at my door around noon on a Saturday. My mom texted right before they arrived. "We need to talk. Please don't ignore this." When I opened the door, there was no drama, no pretense. Just my parents standing there, both looking worn out. My dad had a manila folder in his hand, and my mom looked like she hadn't slept. Amanda wasn't with them. They came in, sat down, and just stared at me for a few seconds like they were trying to decide where to begin. Then my dad pulled a few pages out of the folder and spread them on the coffee table. Numbers, bills, letters. One was from the landlord, eviction notice. One from the car loan company, default warning. The others were tuition emails and bank statements showing Amanda's checking account sitting at 2438 days. My mom said it straight. She's drowning. If she misses next week's rent, she's out. The car's 2 days from being towed. Her job already warned her that if she loses transportation, they'll cut her. She won't survive like this. Then she said what they'd really come for. We need help, real help, everything. Rent, car, tuition. We added it up. It's just under 20,000. She said it like it was a single word. Just under 20,000. As if that would soften the impact. I sat there and looked at them for a moment. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. Then I walked into the other room and came back with a folder of my own. Inside were 2 printed pages, a contract I had written that morning. I'd been expecting this. I just didn't know how soon it would happen. The contract laid it out. Loan of $20,000. Repayable in full over 24 months. No interest. No penalties unless payments were skipped. Signed by Amanda and one of them. I placed it on the table in silence. My mom stared at it like it was some kind of betrayal. "What is this?" she asked, already knowing. My dad didn't even pick it up at first. He just looked at me. "You want us to sign a contract for helping your own sister?" "Yes." My voice didn't shake. I didn't need to explain it. I'd done everything without rules before. That's why they were back, because they expected the same thing. But I had changed, and now there were boundaries. My mom started first. "We're not strangers. We're your parents. What happened to you?" "What happened to you?" I said. And that's when the shouting started. Not screaming, just that cold, brittle kind of anger people use when they feel cornered. "We raised you," my dad said. "We thought we could trust you," my mom added. "You've always taken care of her. We just assumed you would keep doing it. We didn't expect this." "You expected I'd keep paying so Amanda could keep playing," I said. "You expected I'd keep rescuing her while you cheered her on and laughed at my expense. And now I'm just supposed to fix it again." They didn't sign. They left angry. My mom called me selfish. My dad said I was heartless. They slammed the door behind them. I thought that was it. But 3 days later, my mom came back alone. No drama, no tears, just quiet. She walked in, sat down, picked up the contract from where I'd left it untouched on the coffee table. She read it again, then signed. Didn't even ask if Amanda had to. She just signed on her behalf. I wired the full $20,000 the next morning. Sent the confirmation email. No reply. Amanda never texted. Not to say thank you, not to say anything. And that was the last I heard from any of them for weeks. No check-ins, no updates, no birthday call. It was like I'd finally become invisible. Except this time I didn't care. Weeks went by, nothing. After wiring the $20,000, I half expected a response, even a short email confirming they got the money, or a one-word text from Amanda. But there was nothing, just this calculated, echoing silence. No thank you, no, we'll keep you updated, nothing. I watched them disappear like people who had just finished a transaction and walked away from the register. But I knew they'd use it. I checked the payment portals. Her tuition updated to paid. No more alerts from the car lender either. Even the landlord emailed a confirmation that her lease had been renewed. Amanda's life didn't fall apart. Mine just got edited out of it. Instagram told a different story. She was back posting again. Nights out, new clothes, takeout from places that didn't even list prices online. She even posted a selfie with the caption, "Real ones don't break, they rebuild." Right under it, her friend commented, "Yes, sis, bounce back." I was the bounce, and apparently not worth a single message. I thought maybe my parents would reach out, but they didn't either. Not a single word. No apology, no update, no. We're working on the repayments. Just nothing. They vanished as soon as the wire transfer landed, like clockwork. For a while, I told myself it didn't matter, that I hadn't done it for thanks, that it was about drawing a line, doing it on my terms. But I won't lie, it got to me. I'd given them a lifeline, and all I got in return was a kind of practiced indifference. They didn't cut me off. They just froze me out. Then Amanda showed up. No warning, no text, just a knock. I opened the door, and there she was. In a new jacket, with perfectly done nails and shoes I knew cost more than most people's rent. She smiled like we hadn't just lived through a civil war. "I just need a little extra," she said like it was nothing. I looked at her, didn't say a word, then laughed, quiet, slow, like something in me had finally snapped in the cleanest way possible. I stepped back and closed the door in her face without saying another word. 2 days later, I opened my banking app and wired $3,000 to my mom's account. No fanfare, no strings, just a final transfer titled, "Last gift, no repayment." I followed it with a single message. "Don't ever ask me for anything again." 1 hour later, my mom responded, "Thank you. That was kind. We won't bother you again." There was no warmth in it, not even an emoji. It read like a receipt, like someone closing a file. And that's when it really sank in. They didn't see me anymore, just the echo of someone useful. Since then, nothing. No calls, no texts. Amanda didn't show up again. My mom and dad didn't try to reconnect. They started making small repayments on the $20,000, just enough to not break the contract. It wasn't gratitude, it was damage control. And that $3,000? I regretted it almost immediately, not because of the money, but because deep down, some part of me still wanted to believe they might surprise me, that maybe if I gave a little more, they'd finally see me, respect me, care about what I gave up for them. They didn't, and I think that was the final lesson. It's been 6 months since the last wire transfer, the final gift, the one that should have closed the door completely. And in a way, it did. My parents still make monthly payments on the $20,000 loan, like clockwork, not a dollar more than required, always on time, always impersonal. The transactions come in from a shared bank account, no message attached, no notes, just silence. A sterile exchange between two parties that used to be family. Amanda's name hasn't appeared on my phone since she showed up at my door and asked for more. I didn't expect to hear from her after I shut that door, and I haven't. Not a text, not an email, not even a cold, vague apology. She didn't block me, though. That would require a confrontation. This was cleaner. I just became invisible. She still posts constantly. Outfits, filtered selfies, passive-aggressive captions about independence and resilience. I don't engage. I don't even look anymore unless something shows up on a mutual friend's feed. The curated life is still running strong. All surface, no substance. From what I've heard through cousins, she's working 2 part-time jobs now, splitting rent with a roommate. She's scraping by. But it's hers. I can give her that, even if it took hitting the bottom. I stopped cushioning. My parents have gone radio silent. Since the contract was signed and the money delivered, not a single call, Not a text on my birthday, not even a guilt trip on Christmas. Nothing. It's like someone cut my face out of the family album and tucked it in a drawer. They're paying me back because the contract says they have to, not because they think they owe me anything. Erica and I still talk now and then. Not often. She's one of the few who didn't pick a side, and she has her own life. But every once in a while, she fills in the blanks without meaning to. Last time we caught up, she mentioned in passing that she'd gone to a small family cookout. My name came up briefly. She said my mom just shook her head and said, "We don't talk about her anymore." Like I died, like it was a choice. I think they needed that version, the one where I turned my back, where I changed, where I made it about money. That way, they never had to admit that what they did broke something permanent, that they reduced me to a resource and were stunned when I stopped playing the role. That's the part I keep circling back to. I didn't walk away over money. I walked away because even after all the help, all the silent sacrifices, all the moments I bailed Amanda out without anyone asking if I could afford it, they still found a way to humiliate me. That toast at her birthday wasn't just a joke. It was a public reminder that they saw me as something less than a person. The $3,000? Yeah, I regret it. That was me, one last time, trying to play the part, trying to believe a little kindness might bring out something human in them. A thank you, a moment of sincerity. But it didn't. It landed like every other check I ever wrote, unnoticed, expected, and immediately forgotten. Since then, I've stopped checking my phone out of habit. There's no part of me left that expects them to reach out. And even if they did, I wouldn't respond. Not to rehash the past, not to patch things up. There's nothing left to patch. They still have each other. Amanda still has their loyalty. They'll keep paying the loan like it's a parking ticket. And when it's done, I don't expect I'll ever hear from them again. I'm okay with that. I don't want revenge. I don't want a reconciliation built on guilt. I just want peace. And for the first time in my life, I have it. No more 2 a.m. calls asking for help. No more pretending jokes at my expense are harmless. No more trying to earn approval that was never going to come. Just quiet. My own money. My own life. My own space. No roles to perform. No versions of myself to distort for someone else's comfort. And if this is what the end of a family looks like, at least it's honest. At least now I finally know who I am when I'm not saving anyone else.